Perjury is swearing a false oath and intentionally deceiving others in a judicial setting. It is regarded as a serious crime. It can actually carry very stiff penalties. However, perjurers are not often prosecuted and rarely convicted. Lawyers will tell you that it's very hard to prove and very costly to prove that somebody is actually lying on the stand. Even Atticus Finch, in that scene from To Kill a Mockingbird, exposes Mayella Ewell as an obvious perjurer, but she is not arrested or imprisoned. Now, even though perjury is hard to convict, there have been some very notable cases of perjury over the years in the United States. Maybe you're old enough, but perhaps you aren't, to remember a 1950 State Department official, Alger Hiss, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for allegedly lying under oath regarding his supposed communist affiliations. Anybody remember that? Didn't think so. In 1975, John Ehrlichman and H.R. Haldeman, President Nixon's chiefs of staff, were convicted of perjury in the cover-up of Watergate. In 1999, President Bill Clinton was impeached by the House of Representatives for allegedly lying in sworn testimony about his relationship with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. In 2008, Marion Jones, former Olympic track star, was sent to prison for 6 months for perjuring herself in a drug investigation. And early next year, former baseball star Roger Clemens will go on trial in his own perjury case in which he is accused of lying to Congress when he told them he had never taken steroids or human growth hormones. So perjury is hard to prove, but it's still prosecuted as a very serious offense. In federal courts, perjury is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. In California, it's regarded as a capital offense. You can actually be executed for committing perjury on the stand. Now, why is perjury such a big deal? Anyone want to take a guess? Why is perjury such a big deal? What's that? It's the foundation. Truth in the justice system is the foundation of our sense of justice. It undermines our very system of justice. Without the expectation that witnesses are telling the truth, we can have absolutely no confidence that criminals are being punished and that the innocent are going free. Truth is what allows our system of justice to work. Even more importantly, truth is what allows people to get along and live in community. If we can't be certain that we're actually dealing honest with each other, we can't work together, we can't get to know each other, we can't live as friends or as family, and in this regard, we can be some of the biggest perjurers around. We might not lie on the stand, but we live lives of deceit and dishonesty every day, and the consequences of our perjury can be even stiffer than prison sentences. Our perjury keeps us from enjoying and experiencing love and grace in community. The ancient Israelites knew this. Thousands of years ago, the ancient Israelites received their own law making perjury an illegal offense. It's number 9 in the 10 Commandments. If you're just joining us, we've been studying the 10 Commandments here at Rooftop in our series, God's Big 10. 10 Commandments, it's God's 10 words of instruction to the Israelites following their escape from slavery in Egypt. And as we wind down the series this morning, I want to look at the 9th commandment with you. Perhaps you know the 9th commandment. Anybody want to guess the 9th commandment here? You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Now, oftentimes this commandment gets simplified into something more memorable. As my grandma used to say, don't lie. Tell the truth. Gets interpreted as a command to be honest. And now that's kind of true, and we'll get to that in a second. But before we go there, we've got to talk about what the command meant to the ancient Israelites when they first received it. This was a legal command. It was to be understood in a legal context. To bear witness means to give testimony. And to bear false witness means to give inaccurate, misleading testimony. So this is a perjury command. Don't commit perjury. The 9th commandment served as the foundation of the new Israelite court system. The Israelites had never had a court system. We've been living in slavery in Egypt for 400 years. They didn't have judges. They didn't have laws. So here in the 9th commandment, God gives them one of the most basic concepts of justice, and they were obligated to tell the truth about each other in court. And the Israelites understood this, that the 9th commandment was primarily a legal precept, and you can see them applying it in that way. Here, for example, is a case from the Old Testament law library of the book of Deuteronomy in chapter 19. If a malicious witness arises to accuse a person of wrongdoing, then both parties to the dispute shall appear before the Lord, before the priests and the judges who were in office in those days. The judges shall inquire diligently, and if the witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, then you shall do to him as he had meant to do to his brother. So you shall purge the evil from your midst, and the rest shall hear and fear, and shall never again commit any such evil among you. So we see here both the application and the seriousness of the 9th commandment. If someone makes an accusation against somebody else, judges and officials are to investigate it, and if it turns out to be false, the malicious witness is to receive the punishment that was due the person he was accusing. Does that make sense? So if a perjurer makes an accusation with the intent of getting somebody hanged and is exposed as a false witness, what happens to him? He's hanged. Perjurers were evildoers who were to be purged from the land. You can't have justice without truth. And this was to be done so that everyone, I love this language, so that everyone will hear and fear. Sounds like a great sermon series title, doesn't it? Hear and fear. So the 9th commandment was designed to protect the innocent in court, but the 9th commandment was also designed to protect the innocent in the court of public opinion. You know what the court of public opinion is? It's what everybody thinks of us. It's where our reputations go to hang out. We all have reputations, and these reputations are rather important things. We can do very little without our reputations, but our reputations can also be very vulnerable. In fact, the court of public opinion can be even more important than an actual courtroom. Just ask O.J. Simpson or Michael Jackson. They were both declared innocent in court, or certain courts, but found guilty in the court of public opinion. Slander, for example, in the Old Testament was understood to be a violation of the 9th commandment. Slander is the spreading of false information for the purpose of harming another person, and the Bible has very harsh words for slanderers. The psalmist writes, for example, "Whoever slanders his neighbor secretly, I will destroy. Whoever has a haughty look and an arrogant heart, I will not endure." Gossip, also a violation of the 9th commandment. Gossip is the spreading of rumors that may or not be true. The author of Proverbs writes, "A man who lacks judgment derides his neighbor, but a man of understanding holds his tongue. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy man keeps a secret." So the 9th commandment wasn't just the basis of the Hebrew court system, it was designed to protect people in the court of public opinion. You can't speak falsely of other people either in court or at all. You could destroy their lives and their reputations. In fact, on a whim here, let me give you another illustration of this from the Old Testament, of just how important the 9th commandment was in both settings, legal and everyday. It's from Deuteronomy 22. I put it up there. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her and accuses her of misconduct and brings a bad name upon her, saying, "I took this woman, and when I came near her, I did not find in her evidence of virginity," then the father of the young woman and her mother shall take and bring out the evidence of her virginity to the elders of the city in the gate. Do you know what evidence of virginity is? In the Old Testament, when a man and a woman consummated on the night of their wedding, there was a cloth underneath them that caught some of the evidence, the blood, of her virginity. And the parents got to keep it as evidence of her virginity. "And the father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man to marry, and he hates her. And behold, he has accused her of misconduct, saying, I did not find in your daughter evidence of virginity, and yet this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity." Here it is. This is the evidence. Imagine him standing up in court. "And they shall spread the cloak before the elders of the city. Then the elders of that city shall take the man and whip him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife. He may not divorce her all his days." That's going to be a fun relationship. But the point is, back then, this was a big deal. Guarding the protection of the innocent. I mean, this family, not just this woman, but this family would have been ruined by this man's blatant accusations. So the ninth commandment was designed to protect people, the innocent. Now, this seems obvious enough. This seems important. Of course, it's important to tell the truth about other people, not tell lies about them. That seems obvious. But do you imagine, can you believe that God's people just accepted the ninth commandment for what it was and lived in joyful obedience? Can you imagine they did that? No. They didn't. They couldn't. What do you think they did? Kirsten is on top of things. They lowered the bar. As they did with so many other commands, they lowered the bar on this one as well. They lowered the bar of the ninth commandment so that they could do what they wanted while still calling themselves religious. Just like the stealing command. Remember the stealing command last week? Eighth commandment, do not steal. What does the commandment really mean? Live radical lives of generosity. Maybe we should be talking about that again. Be generous. But how did they interpret the eighth command low enough so that they could obey it? Don't take your neighbor's car. So by not taking your neighbor's car, you're obeying the eighth commandment. You can call yourself religious and do what you want. And we did that, they did that with the ninth commandment as well. How did the Israel, in fact, I'm getting a little sick of this picture, so I picked up another picture. This is our lowering the bar, new lowering the bar picture. We lowered enough so that our poodle can jump. And how did the Israelites lower the bar of the ninth commandment? Well, they limited the application of the command. They narrowed its application. First off, they took issue with the word neighbor. What does the command say? Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. But who is my neighbor really? Well, yeah, but you're beating me to my point. I mean, people came up to Jesus even and disputed. He would say crazy things like love your neighbor as yourself. And what would they ask him? Who really is my neighbor? I mean, my neighbor doesn't have to include, like, my enemy. I don't have to tell the truth about my enemy. People that I don't like, people that I don't actually live next to. Actually do this. And before we get too judgmental, we do this too. We get a little careless when it comes to not bearing false witness against our neighbor. Take, for example, how we treat celebrities.